their people already know what needs to be done and volunteer to do that thing, right? If there's a very big difference between a manager and a leader. Leaders, folks want to work for you, want to do a good job, and they believe the leader is bringing them up the mountain with them, right? A manager is just delegating out tasks and getting through the work. It's pulling the deli tickets, right? And that makes for a very different day. And I think you can also measure if someone is a successful leader based on how many people have moved on from the organization, are successful in other roles, and still have a relationship with that person.
Hello, and welcome back to the Resilient Leader's Journey, a podcast where we navigate the challenging currents of growth and change. As a returning guest, if you really like these podcasts, I'd hope that you'd go on to my LinkedIn or YouTube page and be a subscriber, or you can find it on Apple Podcast and Spotify and the other places you get your podcasts. My guest today is Damien Cabral. Damien is the founder of Tribal Vision, which strategic initiatives and oversees day-to-day operations to ensure the agency delivers measurable, high-impact results for clients. Since launching the firm in 2011, he's helped position Tribal Vision as a go-to partner for organizations seeking both marketing strategy and execution. Damien, good morning. How are you today?
Doing great, Trent. Thanks.
We are very happy to have you. Tribal Vision is a Rhode Island-based company, but most importantly to me, I want to know is, of the 4 Ps of marketing, which one's your favorite?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say probably promotion because that's what we do. A lot of focus on revenue, lead generation, really at the heart of the business.
Is that question kind of like which of your 4 children are your favorite?
Yeah, there's always one, but you're not supposed to pick it. Yeah.
That's okay. My children know which one's my favorite, so it's okay.
Nice, nice.
So, Damien, tell us a little bit about what Tribal Vision does so our audience can learn.
Yeah, we help businesses market smarter. So we work with some publicly traded companies, but the majority of our businesses are SMBs, small to medium sized businesses, usually independently held. A lot of them are multi generational, but really we meet people where they are from a marketing perspective and help them figure out what the logical next step is for them. And that really comes down to setting the marketing strategy. And a lot of these folks have no marketing strategy, they're just executing, right? So we allow them a little bit of space and some counsel on thinking through what makes sense as a next step, but we're not just consultants. We can help them actually implement on that on the other side.
Very cool. Very cool. You graduated from Bryant University, Go Bulldogs,
Yep.
and you promptly took a job in a finance organization.
Yeah, I worked for a small regional bank in this area. I built a lot of the marketing databases for them and ran a
Oh,
lot of
I
the
see.
analysis. And then through that more like IT side of the business, I then learned marketing through osmosis and really learned a lot of the foundational marketing, creative messaging. We did a ton of direct mail. We mailed 3 million pieces a month. And over time helped them to diversify from 97% print and direct mail to more of an appropriate mix for the modern era with, 40% traditional media and the other 60% digital marketing.
Goodness. 3 million pieces mail a month. How many postal carriers did you put onto workers' comp yourself?
Yeah, right. It's wild. Well, it's funny. A lot of people even today keep telling me, direct mail's dead. I'm like, direct mail isn't dead if Capital One is still doing it. Trust me, they have enough PhDs and really smart folks to figure out they have a positive ROI in direct mail. You just can't be lazy about it. You got to have the right list, the right message, the right piece, and be very scientific about the tracking. But it's still very much alive.
Is there a particular market that's the sweet spot for direct mail?
I I don't think it's a market. I think you got to. It all starts with the fundamentals, and that's figuring out what a good cost per acquisition is, and from there for every channel, and then from there trying to think through, is my audience here, and can I hit that cost per acquisition with this audience for this channel? And that's, I think, starting with the end in mind is the right way to go about any channel selection, right? So figure out what that customer is worth to you. What is that customer lifetime value? Then figure out what a good cost per close deal is for you from a percentage of media. And then go through the rest of your sales funnel. So, like, I did a lot of work in the home services business. So, everything was about trying to get the customer to an appointment where you have the opportunity to try to sell them something. So, once you know what your cost per close is, go back to what is a good cost per appointment. And then you figure out how many leads I need in the system to get to an appointment. You know what a good cost per lead is, and you work backwards. And then when you're doing your channel selection, you say, based on some assumptions, do I think I can get a cost per lead and cost per appointment, cost per closed deal based on these assumptions? And then you take your best guess, you run some stuff, and the market tells you very quickly whether you were right or wrong, and you go from there. But that's the right way to do it. You can't make these assumptions like, well, TikTok's going to work because we're selling to young people, and that's where all the young people are. So I'm going to do TikTok, and it's just going to take care of itself. It's like, no, you got to slow down and do a little bit of marketing math. That's a component of it, but like you got to do the marketing math before you enter a channel.
Some of my students get flummoxed, the marketing ones. When I look at them and go, "How good are you at math?" No, I'm a marketing major. Wait a second.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, I
the
mean you
math involved is highly complex to figure that out, and that is something that I would say people entering the marketing field may not know. Is that something you appreciated when you started?
it's not something I appreciated, but as an analyst, it's something I leaned into pretty heavy. And then I learned the other aspects of marketing as time went on. But to continue with this path, Trent, um, I think you almost need to be a quasi CTO and quasi CFO to be in marketing today because you need to, I used to kid the CMO doesn't get invited to the big boy table, right? You got the CFO, you got the COO, you got the CEO. The marketing guy's over there doing pretty pictures. Like that's very different now. The CMO is very much at the big boy or big girl table now. But the expectations are hard metrics. It's not the Don Draper, pulling off the boards, talking about the pretty ad campaign. You're being held accountable to some pretty strict metrics, and you need to prove what is working and what is not, and really make a business case to be able to get more budget. So that's the CFO side of it. But the other side is the CTO side. Everything is so complicated now with these platforms, way more so than when I started the firm 15 years ago with, you know, putting the appropriate tags on the pages and all the integrations you need to tie into and firing conversion actions back into Google AdWords to train the algorithms and write the right bidding models with AI. You need to have a really deep technology understanding just to be in the first inning in marketing today. So there's a lot of demands on that CMO, and there's a reason the average CMO tenure is 2.5 years. It's a tough gig. You don't see that low of a tenure at the C level in any of the other disciplines.
Does does the efficiency of marketing now, how does that rate compare to the efficiency 10 years ago or 20 years ago with respect to ROI?
Yeah, I think it is far more efficient and easy to track, but it is far harder to decide what you should do next because of the options. So think about back in the 50s, the Mad Men era, right? You're going to do TV, radio, and print, and there were three TV stations.
Right.
So the part where you had to think through the channel mix was far easier, and there was much more focus on creative, and there was far less focus on measuring is this working or not because you didn't have this direct attribution line.
Sure.
um, Today you have a lot better attribution, but the channel mix is so spread and you have so many options on what you should be doing that is usually the hardest job for any marketer or business leader to decide is like, what should I do? And not what should I do, what should I do when? So, especially when you're early days and you're like, oh, I think I finally need to take marketing seriously. And that's a funny statement, but there's plenty of businesses that have been built with a really powerful sales engine and marketing as an afterthought. I mean, you see
I
that.
know plenty of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
you see that a lot in manufacturing, right? Is like I got my rep relationships, I got my killer sales guys, and like marketing is my two sell sheets and my trade shows. Not anymore. The sleepy businesses that are kind of behind in marketing, even they're waking up and being like, we need to be far more sophisticated now and really treat marketing as a discipline that's going to drive our business.
Yeah, that is very common, and I'm sure there is a generational gap there about the way that gets thought of, where we would say millennials and certainly Gen Z have grown up with the phone in their hand and appreciate the value of the different channels versus somebody in my generation or one up in the boomers. It's an anathema to them almost.
Well, absolutely, Trent. And the thing that folks need to realize, especially with the generational divide like you're talking about, is just because you have a preference and you bought a certain way in the past, the upcoming generation is very different. Even in B2B marketing, you don't think about this, but I mean, Gartner released a study earlier this year. 79% of the buying and decision making journey happens before they talk to a salesperson.
Oh,
People do not want to talk to a person until they have done their homework now. And their homework is their own research, which is very web based. So they're probably reaching out to their peers to get their opinions. Then, once they have a short list from their peers, then they're going to your website and they're looking at reviews and they're reading a white paper and they're getting acclimated to this space, whatever they are looking to buy. But if that's the case, you better spend a lot of time and attention on your marketing and your assets that are out there because that baton's going to the sales guy, but they've already whittled down the list. And if you're not doing these marketing activities and active on social and have a killer website and a really good email marketing solution and a really good CRM in place, you're not even going to be in the consideration set. You
that's
won't have the opportunity to even talk to someone because you didn't invest any time or money into that.
sure, sure. How big is your Tribal Vision in terms of employees?
Yeah, we have 32 FTEs right now, and we were far bigger years ago, but our space is under massive disruption between AI and nearshoring and everything else. Um, we found it's better for us and our clients for us to have kind of a tighter core group and really tap into strategic contractors when we need that type of specialized skill set to be able to deal with the ebbs and flows and just the variety of type of work. So this new model is far more enjoyable and I think is driving a lot more value for the clients than back when we had 70 FTEs.
Wonderful. Is that becoming a trend in your industry
Yeah,
that they're narrowing down to one tighter niche, but they have, and it could be the same assets externally.
absolutely. The For the past like 10 years, the average agency side and size in America was 12 FTEs. It's
Goodness.
very tough to get above 12 FTEs in this space. But recently I saw the most recent number went down to 8. So between AI coming into our space and being a huge factor and like working that into our processes and workflows, nearshoring and just increasing the contractor networks, it's I mean, all of these businesses are going to look very different in 2 years. We are at like the second inning of a 9 inning game right now as far as the change happening in our
For
industry.
sure. Is marketing itself a strong major in universities so that way you have a good pipeline to draw from, or has it waned over the last 10 or 15 years?
It's never really been a strong discipline in most universities. I remember I went to Bryant and, the CPAs and the finance guys were like, the thing everyone held up, right? And the
Right.
marketing guys
The
are like
MOCs.
over there. Yeah. And even me, I'm a management major and I fell into marketing, right? But I think part of that is a misunderstanding in what marketing is. So you started the question today with, the 4 Ps. That's a lot of what you learn in most universities these days is like the theory, right? You don't talk about lead generation. You don't talk about cost per lead. You don't talk about SMB marketing and revenue and the hard numbers behind it. So a lot of it, at least when I was in school, was still in that theory, and it didn't really match what you really learn in your first 5 years on the job.
Well, I'm sorry that I can't walk the walk. I only I can talk it. I remember the four Pete. Well, I know a little bit than that,
Yeah.
but so when you're looking to hire people, what do you consider to be the most important trait that they possess during your interview process?
Yeah, I like to try to sniff out how curious is this person and are they willing to teach themselves some things, both on the job and off the job. Um, I think that might be a generational difference. Maybe I'm just an elder millennial and, it's the generational divide, but I feel like some of the younger folks expect to be spoon fed all of the tools. And, you know, at least everyone I know that's successful around me, they are very much self taught and very much like position themselves as lifelong learners
Sure.
and understand part of that is on the job doing the craft and part of that's off the job. Listen to a podcast while you're doing the dishes or you're doing a run or reading an article or finding your own conference that you want to go to. Like investing in yourself and putting your own effort into that is one of the number one things that I look for. And then the table stakes stuff is just, how sharp is this person? How much transferable skills do they have right now? Those sorts of things. And I usually try to sniff out the cultural aspects too. And the interview process is really tough to get to that, but usually can do it through a few like side questions and try to get them talking a little bit and then they let their guard down because most folks know what to say and what not to say in an interview to get through that process, and you got to kind of get them off script to like really dig into like how is this, what are some flags that I'm trying to raise up to see if this is going to be an issue or not on the other side from a cultural perspective.
That's interesting. So you're saying that it's easier now, or I should say, interviewees now come in better armed to defend themselves against the interviewer.
Absolutely. They have a ton of tools and some tools I had at my disposal years ago are gone. So I used to do, at least for more, you know, subject matter expert based interviews, I'd give them an assignment, a case, and I could give them the prompt and give them 48 hours to work on it, come back and present to me. Um, Now with AI, I can't do that because they can just whip it up in an
That's right.
agent. I don't know if it's their work or not. So
That's
I'm I'm
exactly
uh
right. Yeah.
I'm forced back into like in real life, real time situations much more, and I have to lean more into the real time conversation to like really understand if they have those skills and get to their learning. And I can't use those assignments as much. And those assignments used to even give me an understanding of like what is their writing ability, what is their ability to put together a succinct presentation, so that it was less about the right answer and it was more about like the thinking and the structuring and attention to detail. But now they have so many tools to take care of that I just have to adapt like everything else in life, right?
Sure. Yeah, I understand it. What is the what is how does tribal vision measure a success for a client? What makes when you win for a client? What does that look like?
Yeah. Famous answer everyone hates. It depends. No,
Thank
it,
you. Thank you. I've never heard that before.
yeah. No, it's something we
Give me
take
an
very
example.
it's something we take very seriously, and in the proposal process we actually and put this into the process, defining success for you.
Mhm.
So for one client, it might be revamping our brand, making our messaging more clear, um, increasing our brand awareness. For another, it might be I need 500 leads in the next 6 months at a cost per lead of $150. But in the proposal conversations, we have a whole slide that says defining success for you. And we look to get feedback and alignment then before a dollar is ever transacted. And then that is then carried into the account team that's actually running those accounts. And on a quarterly basis, we have a QBR with the client and put back up that slide and say, how are we doing tracking against these goals? Are we nailing it? Are we on our way? Do we have to change some things? So I think that is a really important piece to keep at the forefront at every level of that engagement.
Interesting. I learned from you that um, client acquisition is easier than client retention.
Hmm.
If you can explain that to our audience.
Yeah, no, as we talked about earlier, I went to Brian. I have a lot of CPA friends. So one of my buddies owns his own CPA firm, and we always compare notes. I'm like, man, it's so nice you never lose a client. When you lose a client, it's because they got bought or they retired. But like once you have a client, you don't change your accountant that much. You have to do something really bad to change your accountant, right?
Yeah.
Um, in my space, people leave all the time for good reasons and no good reasons. Sometimes, we were talking about like picking the right channel mix and all that. Like, there's so much art and science and gut to what we do that you could put the smartest person on an account, have a killer product, think you have it all figured out, launch some things, and burn a whole bunch of money, right?
Sure.
Because you didn't choose correctly or whatever. There's a million reasons something could not work out, even if everyone tried as hard as they could and executed perfectly. And then you're gone, right? You're gone. Or some I've had many experiences where we've had long-term clients and we're just killing it. New CEO comes in, brings in their own guy. Or they wake up one day and like, I want to change the creative. Sometimes they just change the whole company because they don't think you can do something differently and have never voiced that to you. So it's very common to churn a client in our space, even if you're trying your hardest, doing the best job possible. It's just how marketing is, and you fight against that every day, but it's our reality.
I talk with people, and you'll hear plenty of times the term barriers to entry, the barriers to entry in a business. But I'm going to take it the other way. With a CPA firm, it's the barrier to exit.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a barrier to exit certain industries. And your CPA friend is right. And having been on that side, I certainly understand the cost and the aggravation to bring a new person. But to bring in a new marketing firm, it's fresh. It's like a new romance. You feel the endorphins kicking in you, and you want to play some Bee Gees music
Yeah.
and have a good time with
That's it, man. That's it.
them. So you have people moving up through the ranks in your organization. You have some good, longer tenured people. How do you define an effective leader, and and with respect to inside of your organization?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few different ways I think about it, but said shortly, someone wants to work for you, right? And, when I think of, our best leaders, they don't have to ask for their people to do something. Their people already know what needs to be done and volunteer to do that thing, right? If there's a very big difference between a manager and a leader. Um, Leaders, folks want to work for you, want to do a good job, and they believe the leader is bringing them up the mountain with them, right? A manager is just delegating out tasks and getting through the work. It's pulling the deli tickets, right? And that makes for a very different day. And I think you can also measure if someone is a successful leader based on how many people have moved on from the organization, are successful in other roles, and still have a relationship with that person, right? I mean, that you never like to see your A players go, but if your A players are leaving and doing really cool things and very successful and actively reaching back out to you throughout the year, that person's a leader.
Very cool. I do know, and I can think of dozens of people that have been that way, and it is frustrating when they go. But sometimes the best ones, you have to let them. And if done right, maybe they bring business back your direction.
Yeah, usually if you do the right thing, the world has a way of taking care of you. I
Karma
generally believe
certainly
that.
does.
You have moments where you're like, the world is not right, but
Well, because I put so much time into you,
yeah,
how
yeah,
can you go after 18 months?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the world is not right, but time has a way of putting everything back into equilibrium.
How long do you spend training your employees to get them into the tribal vision culture?
Yeah, I think a minimum it takes someone 3 months to bake just to begin being effective in any role and getting acclimated to your system. And it's probably that 6 month mark where you start feeling like they're producing more than you're investing, and now they're an asset to the organization, and they're just like in the process, in the vibe.
Sure, sure. Damien, one more question for you. Who is your favorite fictional character?
Yeah, I very rarely watch anything fiction, which shows you how interesting I am, right? But like, there's usually like one series a year where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch some fiction. I loved the Peaky Blinders on Netflix, and Tommy Shelby. I mean, he's got some issues, but like just the positioning him as a businessman separate from the whole gangster side, like, and the amount of one-liners he has, it's just gold. I absolutely love Tommy Shelby in that character.
And I think you want to send people out with a message. Per order the Peaky frickin' Blinders.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't it be
Uh,
awesome if you could just send messages that way?
I know there's a lot of things you wish you could do the old way, but it's
He is a very intelligent character.
yeah,
Intelligent, who's not afraid to wield the big right red hand
that's it.
to make things happen. Damien Cabral, president of Tribal Vision, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Trent. This was great.
Folks, resilient leaders face challenging currents, and it's tough navigating. But with one tack or another, we can get there together. I appreciate you joining our show today. Please subscribe, tell a friend about us. That way they can hear and learn all things beautiful like from Damien. We'll see you next time. Be well.